Hi everybody, welcome to another Chats with Chaudhry. I hope you're safe and well. Today I'm really delighted to be joined by Mark Butler, who is President and Managing Director for Americas for IPS Integrated Project Services. And today we're going to be looking back at 2020 and seeing what some of the positives and learnings we can take out of that very difficult and remarkable year that has been 2020, and look ahead to how 2020 will develop and some of the trends in that. So Mark, first of all, it's lovely to see you from your lovely office in Philadelphia today.
Thanks, Rizwan. Great to be here with you as well.
Yeah, well, the last time you and I met was actually almost a year to the day, well, give or take 2 days now, where I caught you in the foyer of ISP Facilities of the Future and got you to do a quick video about the event. So a lot's changed since then, obviously.
It certainly has. Yep. I think that was the last public event that I was at before COVID hit.
Yeah, and that was in San Francisco just before the Super Bowl, actually. So that was quite interesting. The Super Bowl is obviously coming up in the next couple of weeks as well. So anyway, we won't talk football because we could be here for hours for that. Let's talk about last year in 2020. So my first question is, how would you look back at 2020 and describe it in one word, if you can?
Wow. So, a lot of words do come to mind when we think back at everything that happened in that year. Some of those words I shouldn't even say on camera.
Yeah, I know.
But I guess exhausting, surreal, tumultuous, to name a few. But I guess if I settled on one word, I would say resolute. I would say I'd have to say resolute.
And why would you say that?
These challenges, they just kept coming all year. There was good, there was bad, there was ugly. Professionally, we had to find a way to take care of our 1,500 employees and their families. Keep our customers' critical projects moving. We had to do that in safe and compliant ways. Just dealing with all of the rules and regulations and the challenges that just kept coming on a daily basis. And we had to find new ways of working and collaborating with one another. So, I think to me, we had to be resolute. We weren't going to fail. We wanted to emerge, better than we and stronger than we entered this. And the types of things that our staff had to overcome, personally, professionally, just enormous. So, it was a relentless disruption, and I think we kind of found a way to meet it with an equal amount of resolve. So that we wouldn't allow ourselves to succumb to the pressures that we were facing. So, we really didn't have a choice to find ways to succeed. And so looking back, I'm really proud to say that we survived this. We're not out of it yet, and we did survive and come back stronger. We added 277 new employees at IPS last year. So, yeah, resolute.
Well, adding so many new employees over the last year is amazing, actually. And were they all onboarded, or did you manage to get to see any of them face to face when you were doing the interview?
All virtual. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little later, but, every Monday morning, it's turned into a routine now, that at 11:30, my Teams lights up and I have to call in and welcome the new cast of folks. And so, it's been pretty interesting. People, when they joined, have said, they didn't really understand how they were going to be onboarded. Someone in California or Canada or Florida, and there's no office within a couple hundred miles, and yet here they are connected to a team of HR and technical leaders, and go through a week of onboarding. It's been pretty incredible how our teams responded.
That's brilliant. Now, one thing I forgot to do when we did the intros was actually ask you to tell people a little bit about IPS. So maybe this would be a good time before we go further on. Maybe you could give people a quick background on IPS and
Yeah.
your role within it as well, so to put everything into context.
Sure, sure. So, IPS is an engineer, construction management, validation, and project controls company. We've been around since 1989. So we're in our 32nd year. It's 90% of our business is in the pharma life sciences business. The company was founded to be a disruptor to the conventional way of designing and building as a design build company back in the 80s and 90s, where it was pretty common for food and petrochemical industries to use design build, but in the pharma space, it wasn't. You needed specialists. And so the founders had a pretty good vision, to sort of disrupt that. And so from two people back in 1989, today we're pretty proud to have over 1,500 people worldwide, and we operate just about anywhere in the world today. So it's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah, and your background?
So I'm a mechanical engineer by training. So I spent over 30 more years than I'd like to admit in the industry at designing HVAC systems. Got into the pharma sector probably in the 80s. And designed a number of pharmaceutical facilities. I joined IPS in 1997 to start our New Jersey office, and at that time we were about 60 people, and just helped to grow that business to where we are today. Spent a number of years at Pfizer as well, doing capital projects for global engineering.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, sorry I missed that at the very beginning, but I think it really helps when people have a better understanding when we're talking about work that you're doing, to put it into context in relation to everything as well. So
we know each other for so long that you just automatically forgot that part.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, exactly. Because we were talking about football before we started the conversation and recording. So moving on, looking back at 2020, obviously, as you said, that it was tumultuous and you had to be very resolute. So looking at the sort of business goals that you had at the start of the year and how you ended up, were you able to achieve the objectives that you set out for at the start of 2020 by the end of last year?
Yeah, so we have set some very aggressive growth objectives year over year. So I put it into context first. So January and February of last year, we did really well. I'd say no one could have predicted, what the pandemic, the type of an impact it would have had on the global economy and our business. But overall, our top line revenue was below our target. That was because I think a few projects were put on hold and even canceled during that time. But our net service revenue it actually was up over 2019. So we were ahead of 2019, even though we didn't hit our targets for 2020. On headcount, as I said, we added over 277 employees. We actually opened up 2 new offices, one in Emeryville, California, just north of San Francisco, and one in Frankfurt, Germany. So, that was pretty exciting. We delivered several significant COVID projects during the year, both on the drug substance and the drug product side, both of which, were deemed mission critical and essential. So our field support staff, had to continue to work on sites, and we launched a CAR-T operational readiness product called Carton, and we really continued to innovate. A couple of initiatives and objectives we had was our Icon pre-engineered modular platform and our iLabs laboratory utilization tools. Those were both developed, and where we had other initiatives that we didn't quite achieve ahead of time, we got some new ones, like a mobile immunization unit that can be used for the last mile for immunization.
Right.
One of our architects in Kansas City helped to develop that. With the social unrest here in the U.S., we really looked at our own staff and our distribution and how we're responding. And we created a diversity, equity, and inclusion program. While we had some goals that we didn't achieve, we had so many things to be proud of. That we included just because of the events that were surrounding 2020. And, we built a significant backlog heading into 2021. So all in all, I think there's a lot of positive takeaways from, how the business responded.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, like you said, it's a very, very difficult year, particularly when you're in terms of building facilities as well, because that construction and anything is going to be hit immediately when you've gone into lockdown and people just can't get out to work. It's great that you've achieved better than the year before as well in so many ways. So here's a question for you though, because obviously when we were in San Francisco, COVID was being discussed, obviously, and was coming into the news. So when did you as a business start planning for the pandemic?
Well, planning really didn't occur until it was upon us, right? Now we're a global business. We have offices in Singapore and Shanghai. I think Singapore, Malaysia had the SARS outbreak a year before, and so we kind of got some heads up on office practices back then. But our China team was shut down first, and we were pretty in touch with them to find out what was happening with their offices. And as much as they could tell us, they would. I don't think folks in China knew everything that was going on.
Sure.
But we knew something was going to outbreak. And then we have offices in our EMEA region, and we have employees that live in France and Switzerland and Ireland and the UK. And I think our French staff got hit first, and then we realized that this was going to be global. And so by I guess when I returned from San Francisco in January, we started to put some things in place and started to create a task force that our risk committee to start looking at things. And at that point, it was really hard to find a lot of data.
Sure.
WHO, Johns Hopkins, all of those. So this risk committee that we formed, really looked at what was going to be the impact to our personnel, to our clients, and to our projects, and we started planning. I think in by the end of February. So by the time March hit, we were able to make some definitive decisions. We basically said that we weren't going to lay off any of our employees. We put a 3-month time frame on that, 90 days, because we didn't know if it was going to be over in 90 days. We didn't know what was going to happen, and so we then had daily briefings, and like I said, the data was changing on a daily basis. It was very difficult.
Right. And you said you put the task force together, but what did you have in place already, do you think, which helped you to respond to the pandemic?
Every one of our regional offices has a business continuity plan, and so they already have and need to update that on an annual basis, so that if they had to work remotely due to a fire event or a flooding event or some other event that took the office down, we had contingency plans in place. Right. We never actually use them, but we had them, and thankfully we were able to implement them pretty quickly. I'd say the other thing we had in place was the Microsoft Teams platform. But we weren't using it as a Teams platform. It was just another add-on, and
Sure.
and so sort of necessity is the mother of invention, if you will.
Definitely, I agree.
So we had a a dial-in service for conference calling, and the first day we announced that the workforce was going to work from home, that morning all of the departments set up their departmental meetings, and it crashed the system. And
Yeah.
within an hour, our IT folks, which are really the heroes for us, they basically had everyone switch over to Teams. And Teams is so intuitive with the ability to collaborate and share information. So so it really was fantastic for us to use that platform. And our market that we serve, as I said earlier, was it's predominantly pharma life sciences. And so because of that, those spaces weren't put on, they weren't really put on hold.
No.
In fact, we were kind of built for this time to be able to respond. And fortunately, we had a good network with them, and were able to actually increase the amount of work that we had.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. So, I mean, those are things you had in place. What things did you have to change, or how did things change for you to respond?
Yeah, I think there was quite a lot of changes. I would start with our field operations. We had to develop best practices for contractors and protocols to check for wellness. You're usually trying to densify the number of contractors in a space and do it all safely from a working perspective. And there's all kinds of metrics that you have on contractor densities on a floor, or however you're building out the building, right? We now had to take a look at this new six foot rule and figure out now, how do we keep everyone safe, and do things like track and trace for to make sure that if someone was infected, that you were able to track who they were interacted with, so that you could notify them and isolate them from a job site. So our field personnel had to do some very significant things. The disruption for our staff, back office staff, engineers and professionals, they migrated from 22 offices to what I call 1,500 offices overnight. And I think they really had to they had to overcome these challenges of working in a rec room, or working on their porch, or a lot of people didn't have home offices. Some of our staff in India, we had to make sure that they had computers at home. And so there was a whole transformation of this workforce from going to an office, being social, meeting with people at a coffee stop, sharing and talking and learning, to now all of a sudden being isolated, and then having, if they had little kids, having to homeschool, having to take care of elderly parents. And it was all of these challenges that just had to overcome. So we've had to reimagine, sort of the way projects are done now. Collaboration is different. We have to try to figure out, how do we keep our culture, the culture that we built, that we're very proud of, to be entrepreneurial, client focused, and then still be caring enough for our staff that are just working crazy hours, because doesn't seem to be a separation between home and work life now. So we've had to reimagine so many things. And like I said earlier, the onboarding process now, we really had to figure out how to do that in a way that you really do get to understand your employees' technical capabilities with, computers and finding ways to collaborate and communicate. Communication is so key today. So we've done a number of things. We've instituted a lot of routines and then developed so many new protocols now to adapt to this.
I mean, that sort of leads interestingly to another question I was going to ask you, or brings to mind. You talked about culture and values. So has the company culture then changed at all? And have you added or changed your values to reflect the new situation and the new world that you're in?
Well, let's see. That's a good question. I would say it's still a work in progress. Values haven't changed. Our values of respect for people, customer focus, our knowledge, skill, and passion, they haven't changed. But
Right.
But how we reinforce those with our folks, that we've had to change quite a bit, and frankly, the jury's still out. It's a work in progress. I think we saw a lot of efficiency improvements, in the very beginning months, because it was all new and folks had to, had to learn and be on their game. And now, after we've been at this for a year now, and and it's getting old, and people are starting to show signs. So we've done a number of things. We have kind of a pandemic Wednesday once a month, where we literally 200-300 people call into a huge team site, and they just share what's going on in their personal lives with each other. And it's from all areas of the organization, senior management, everybody. And you can just listen to some of the pain, some of the happiness. It's incredible.
Right. Thank you for that, because that was unscripted, that question. So there you go, chucked it in. So Mark, we talked about how the company has changed through the pandemic. How has the market changed since March?
Yeah, I think the market has changed. In terms of the types of projects, we're seeing more vaccine projects, obviously, and more domestic API projects here in the U.S. I think the pandemic showed some vulnerabilities here in the U.S. with respect to API production, and when different parts of the world were shut down, we had some critical shortages of API, and we've had an ongoing list of drug shortages here as well for a while. So those are from the I would say the project product side of the industry. But we've also seen a significant change in speed, and that to me has been one of the biggest changes to the market, and how projects and teams and companies need to respond. So we've been looking at ways to accelerate project delivery, and using a lot of off-site or near-site construction techniques. One, it was driven by just needing to keep that social distance and keep the number of contractors low, so we could social distance and try to make sure we had good practices there, where we weren't spreading if someone was sick. And but what we learned from that is that those, the quality is higher. there's less from a safety perspective. You've got a little less man hours on the job site. Those man hours are shifted to a factory where there are a little better working conditions, climate control, and repetitive work for some of the workers, so that they're not having to do some new techniques. And so you also become accustomed to some of the dangers that you're working around, because they're the same pretty much day in, day out, whereas on a job site things are dynamic and they're always changing. So the speed and the way we're responding, and the industry is responding to that, even after the pandemic, it will still be with us. I think these lean types of construction techniques are having an impact on the overall quality, safety, and the way projects are being delivered.
Fantastic. Okay. And what positives would you take out of 2020?
So we talked a lot about how we responded and things like that, but I think if we look at the way that this workforce had to overnight shift to a remote work from home type setting, it really has shown how flexible and decentralized workforces can be utilized both on the company side for our efficiency, but also on the client side for speed and for the types of talent that might not be in a local setting. A lot of our customers like you to be local. It's around the world. It doesn't matter where you are. Sites like to deal with someone who knows the local market, and so that really does work. But you're also able to blend in some specific talent from other areas because they're decentralized. So it's given us access to folks and talent that we might not have had. Hiring someone in the Pacific Northwest where we don't have an office, but it really doesn't matter in this type of a work from home setting, or you can get in a plane and travel when things get back to normal. But those are pretty positive for the industry. And then I think if we look at how fast this COVID vaccine was pushed through the FDA, I think it shows that we can do great things when we need to, and we just need to understand that this pandemic was a worldwide thing, but cancer is still with us, and so many horrible diseases are there, Alzheimer's, and if we can put forth that sort of effort that we just did on getting these COVID vaccines approved, and apply that to some of these other illnesses, it'll be remarkable what we'll be able to do in the next few years.
I agree 100%. And looking back, is there anything you would do differently now that you've had time to assess how the year's gone, and what worked and what didn't work? I mean, is there anything you would do differently?
I don't think so. I think I'm pretty proud of the way our team was agile enough to navigate this dynamic pandemic. I think we responded very well. I think just making sure that we communicated to our staff, that we're all in it together. I think I wouldn't change anything right now. I really wouldn't.
Fine. And looking ahead now to 2021, I mean, what do you see the new normal being? Because everyone's saying, well, we're all going to get back to normal, but what is the new normal going to be as far as you can see going forward?
I wish I had a crystal ball that could do it, but so many things are changing. I mean, we would look back. I was a big disruption guy. Did the Harvard disruptive strategy program. a few years ago. And, disruption to me has always been fascinating. I'm old enough to have the beta tapes before VHS came out. 8-track players, before CDs came out, and I think as you watch industries transform, I was reading a book about Blockbuster had an opportunity to buy Netflix, but they never did because they wanted, they had the bricks and mortar, and they didn't think that the online would be so, you ask, what's the new normal going to be? We have seen so much technical innovation, and the changes to bricks and mortar retail are going to be huge. I don't know what we're going to see in a lot of the malls here in the U.S. and shopping around the world, because ordering online has just become a way of life, and so it's forced us to adapt, just like our teams adapted to the Microsoft Teams environment. I think people are coming, a year of being locked down, are becoming used to technology, and so I do believe that work from home will be with us for a considerable amount of time. We're trying to reimagine what the office looks like from a consulting perspective. Does it become a place where you collaborate, bring teams together and work just on a project basis, but it's small teams. So much is going to change. We've got some bright minds looking at and talking to our customers about what they see, but I see a lot less travel, a lot more of this, a lot more global collaboration.
Brilliant. And from a market perspective, what do you see the key development trends then for this year?
Yeah, so let's see. So in terms of trends, I think this messenger RNA, this was a huge disruptor to the industry, and I think we're going to see this platform deliver, just deliver many more therapies. It can instruct cells to make their own target proteins and for antibodies, and it's going to be applied to so many different vaccines and therapies. I think this is a pretty big trend. Another trend is in the way we're analyzing data. We're looking at data. There's some high demands on the R&D side. At IPS, we recently developed this, I mentioned it a little earlier, iLab. So it's an intelligent lab dashboard that really it's based on two management ideas. One is decision science and operations management, DSOM, and the other is business analytics. So it marries those two concepts together. And what an iLab dashboard can do for customers to help them make better, more informed decisions when they're planning their laboratory assays and projects without having to build new labs. So let me give you some real examples of that. So data seems to be everything today, and so understanding the amount of time it takes to run an assay, the utilization on those machines, the downtime for cleaning. This iLab dashboard takes Internet of Things data, from the actual piece of equipment, and then it outputs it to a real-time dashboard that you can get trends on cycle times, efficiencies, outputs, utilization. And so, a lot of times, machines, so many machines were given to so many scientists, and there's benchmarks, for building out a lab that says you need so much, so much throughput. You have so many lab researchers and technicians, and you need so many machines, and that's sort of how things were going. Well, when you really start to look at the actual, time and utilization of the bench, and you analyze it, you can find out that you may not need to spend that capital, and rather do some add some additional equipment, reconfigure the lab versus building new square footage. So it's a trend that's coming, and we're seeing people use data in a lot of different ways. So so more to follow on that in terms of how we're doing it. iLabs it's a brand new product, and we're pretty excited about it.
Fantastic. Well, actually, I think the IoT stuff is really interesting, and but I think with data, there's a lot of data out there. It's how you interpret it, isn't it? And that's half the skill, is getting the data and being able to interpret it to actually make sense of it, because there's so much data out there. But what does it all mean? That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And having the ability to sort through it and put it into a picture that you can look at and make some decisions pretty quickly, without having to slog through reams and reams of data. There's so many new tools that are just being created. You're going to see a lot more efficiency in laboratory operations, and managing data as time goes on here.
Fantastic, thank you. So one additional question before we close is that you talked about cultures and value a bit earlier, and so I've been interviewing a lot of senior management, and I've been asking them all very similar questions. Has the company culture changed, and have your values changed over the last year? And do you think the company values impact employees in terms of attracting new employees, and also in terms of working with other customers as well? I mean, how important are values these days, from a perception point of view? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, with so much misinformation and disinformation, and the lack of trust these days, I think employees, I think they're all. I forgot to turn that one off.
Don't worry, that's fine.
I think employees really do value the company that they work for, and they want to know they're working for a company that has the same values as they do. So our values have always been around our knowledge or skill or passion. We've always wanted to help our customers make these critical drugs and therapies that are saving lives, and enhancing life around the world. So that's been our core, and what we've learned, and we wanted to get people on board, with us to help with that mission, and hold those values, and it's been perfect for us so far. Knock on wood here. But with the lockdown over the last year, what we came to realize is there are so many other issues that need to be dealt with. The social injustice, and to address the social unrest here and around the world. Just a general caring for your community, and making your community better. Giving back to underserved communities and underprivileged individuals, and just a recognition that that the company itself is out for more than just a bottom line. That we can do more to help make the world a better place. And so in those respects, our company has changed. I mentioned earlier, we started a diversity, equity, and inclusion program, to make us aware, and to learn more about ourselves and the company, and to bring our 1,500 people on board on that journey, to give back. This year, we celebrated and added an additional holiday in the Americas for the Martin Luther King holiday, and we had a day of service, voluntary. Everyone had the day off, but we had a significant number of folks who joined in. We had 3 different charities that we focused on, and just a lot of that is on social media now, where we did that. This was all done by an internal organic organization that was created called IPS Aid. It's not a management group. It's an organic employee resource group that just sprung up on their own, that wanted to find ways to give back. And so through the year of 2020, we helped food banks, and just a number of things. So 20 years ago, when I was at IPS, I don't think the company was thinking about sustaining and giving back in these ways that we are today. So I'd lump that in to values, and so from a culture perspective, we were always and still are very entrepreneurial, very innovative. Try to empower our folks to be creative. We have a new innovation awards program where we're incentivizing folks to find new and better ways to do things. And so I think our culture is evolving and continuing to evolve, and to give back in ways that we can.
Brilliant. Well, that fits nicely to my final thing is, what message would you like to give those people watching who have already been 3 weeks into 2021, but for the rest of the year, what would be your New Year message to everybody who's watching?
well, I'd say, science will win. I think everyone who works in the life science pharmaceutical industry, should be very proud of their contribution, and helping to bring these critical products and medicines to the market. I think you just have to be just very proud of that. And it's in all of the areas. It's in the design, the scientists, the manufacturing people, the packaging, the people who ship the products, the contractors that built it, the people that made the equipment. I mean, there are so many touches along the way, of people that are really helping to solve this pandemic and other diseases. And then I think just remind folks that what got you here is not going to get us to where you need to go in the future. And so we just need to consistently think of new ways to innovate, collaborate, and just deliver value for your customers.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Well, Mark, all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for taking time out. You spent a lot of time with me today, and I appreciate you spending that time here. It's really interesting. I wish you, your loved ones, the business, everybody a fantastic 2021 in good health, happiness, and success. So thank you for taking the time out to talk to me.
You too, Rizwan. Thank you. Health and happiness to you as well.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for watching. As always, until next time, stay well and stay safe. Bye-bye.